Hello everyone, welcome to astrologynewsreport.com. Today is November 24th, 2013.
Presenting an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic astrology.
I'm Ron Berger.
And I'm David Anton Savage. Let's take a look at the week that was.
A planetary pattern we have referred to for the past several weeks manifested again this past week. The USA Venus subperiod. Venus rules Libra and Taurus, and thus in the USA chart, Venus rules the 11th house, which is Congress, and the 6th house, which includes defense, amongst its many meanings, and therefore the military. Venus itself is the significator of young females. So, last week there was a big kerfuffle in Congress over a new report that showed sexual abuse has, if anything, gone up in our co-ed military. A bill was introduced by the junior senator from New York, Kristen Gillibrand, to have the judicial process of dealing with sexual assault cases removed from the military chain of command. This proposal is vociferously opposed by most of the military brass, as well as pro-military members of Congress who want to keep things as they are.
Thus, we have the USA chart with Venus activating both the 6th house of military affairs as well as the 11th house of Congress. Venus itself is transiting in Sagittarius, the first house of the USA, putting Venus-related issues front and center. And in the 11th house, we have the transit of Rahu, indicator of transformation, plus Saturn, indicator of the established order. And also, continuing on here, and speaking of transformation to the established order in the 11th house of the USA, last Thursday, the Senate voted for the nuclear option, the term given to changing Senate rules and abolishing the filibuster.
Yes, the partisan battles that have paralyzed Washington in recent years took a historic turn Thursday, as Senate Democrats eliminated filibusters for most presidential nominations, severely curtailing the political leverage of the Republican minority in the Senate. Of course, the Republicans are seriously pissed.
Another astrological point here, which we called attention to in last week's predictions, is that Thursday was the day that Mercury passed through 17 degrees of Libra, the degree of the November 3rd total eclipse. Eclipses signal changes, with the change happening when a planet subsequently interacts with the eclipse point. Mercury is the planet of the rational mind, therefore making a rational decision.
Oh my God, you mean the Congress did something rational?
Yes, truly amazing. But generally, eclipses are considered harbingers of bad events. The culmination of a lunar month's energy comes on the full moon. Last Sunday's full moon delivered on the promise of November 3rd's total solar eclipse. In the Midwest of the USA, a wave of as many as 80 fast-moving tornadoes hit right at the time of the full moon, flattening communities in Illinois and surrounding states. The weather was unusual in that tornadoes don't usually happen in November, especially intense, destructive ones.
Since entering Sagittarius on October 30th, Venus has been opposite to Jupiter, which is itself retrograde. Both of these planets are connected to prosperity. Venus is the planet of value, therefore prices, but also costs. Jupiter is prosperity in general, as well as the energy of increase. Jupiter is specifically banks and bankers. Jupiter is also the planet of laws and judgments. Last week, J.P. Morgan Chase agreed to pay the federal government the largest fine ever leveled against a corporation. The $13 billion deal is to penalize the bank for misleading investors about increasingly rotten mortgage loans packaged into supposedly A-quality bonds sold to investors during the run-up to the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh boy.
Jupiter and Venus are the two prosperity planets. Jupiter is the planet of increase. Venus is value. With Jupiter directly opposite Venus in the zodiac, we would expect an increase in value and prices. Well, the stock market gained new heights last week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went over 16,000 points. Standard & Poor's Index of 500 stocks topped 1,800.
What did Greenspan once say? Irrational enthusiasm. Incredible. Early last week, Mercury, the planet of communications and communications equipment, was exactly conjunct Rahu, the significator of transformation, indicating potential change for the Internet. On Monday, Google and Microsoft announced they will block images of child sexual abuse by creating a new algorithm that will prevent illegal search results. Google Executive Chairman Eric Schmidt also said changes are in store at YouTube. Engineers have created new technology to identify videos by child abuse predators, which is one hell of a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Mercury, the planet of communications, has been conjunct Rahu, the planet of modern technology. So hats off to the narcissistic millennials. You've changed the dictionary. Selfie is Oxford English Dictionary's word of the year, the publishers announced last Tuesday. Oxford English Dictionary wrote on its blog, if it's good enough for the Obamas and the Pope, then it's good enough for word of the year. Selfie.
I wonder when sexting is going to make it in there.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Now, here's a totally different manifestation of Mercury conjunct Rahu. Mercury is the planet of the media. Rahu is the significator of the unusual.
Yes, so last week, Toronto's crack-smoking mayor got his own TV show.
Really?
I have to admit that the first thing that came to my mind was something like Breaking Bad at City Hall, and I got kind of excited. After spending the previous week sticking his foot in his mouth in front of the press, Mayor Ford got to explain himself on his own TV show without media pressure. The Toronto mayor went so far as to say that he had a come-to-Jesus moment, that he is finished with alcohol.
Yeah, but, okay, Saturn intervened once again. The reality check planet was only a few degrees away from that Mercury-Rahu conjunction. So, only one day after the debut episode, Ford Nation succumbed to Saturn. The Canadian TV network realized that this show could be more trouble than it was worth and axed it.
It's interesting to look at the astrology chart of a person who suddenly becomes world famous. We will examine Ford's birth chart in Section 3 of this week's report.
Okay, we will conclude this week's Review of the Week. Be sure to click in with us next week.